Hey everyone, and welcome back to the So Rude podcast. My name is Paige Ruderman, and I am so excited to be welcoming a special guest to the show. Allison Asarch is a Nashville-based singer-songwriter. Heavily influenced by Taylor Swift, she blends country, pop, and jazz elements in her music. In September 2020, she released her first single, Tailor Made, and appeared on the Netflix original show Sing On, where she took first place, winning over $42,000. She followed the success with her debut album, Texas to Tennessee, released in February 2022. Allison has garnered significant recognition in her career, including a nomination for Rising Star at the Josie Music Awards in 2022, held at the Grand Ole Opry, and she was nominated for Modern Country Artist of the Year and Vocalist of the Year at the 2023 ceremony. She is now gearing up for her sophomore album release with her first single from the project, Better with Time. We met living here in Nashville, and I am so excited to dig into Allison's journey, her creative process, and what's next for this country pop girly. Allison, thank you so much for coming on the So Rude podcast.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you, Paige, for having me. Literally so excited to dive in to Better with Time with you.
Me too. The best part about these podcasts is that like we are friends. I see you regularly. We have these kinds of conversations all the time. And I love getting to capture just like a small piece of it to share with the world and your fans and
Yeah,
everyone excited for your new music.
same.
So I know I shared a little bit about your background, but can you tell us a little bit more about you or anything I may have missed?
Yeah, so I started singing forever ago. Literally, like fourth grade was kind of the real moment for me when I started singing because all the boys were singing at school, and that just wasn't a thing before I moved schools. And I was like, oh, everybody sings? Oh, then I'm fine. I can sing too. Cool. I would sing like Britney Spears songs. I was very, very little and singing songs that were about, I'm not a girl, not yet a woman at 10 years old, not knowing what it meant at all. But I loved it. I loved everything like that. And when I was graduating high school, my college counselor recommended me because all I felt like I could do was music. So I said, what do I do? And she told me, well, you have to sing opera. And that was all I was told. I wasn't told that I didn't need to do that. I was told that. So I applied to schools in Ohio. She said, you should go to school in Ohio. And I'm from Texas. And I was like, why am I needing to go to the north? But I got accepted and I visited after I got accepted and literally fell in love with everything about my cute little college, Otterbein University. And I sang opera and I learned how to really hone in on my voice. I never took voice lessons as a kid because I always thought that meant that I couldn't sing. And that's not correct. It just means that they're wanting to help you use your voice properly so you don't get sick and don't hurt it and need to, eventually have surgery or whatever. So when I had my first voice lesson, I really was like, oh, wait, you want to help me? This is, that I can sing? Oh, okay, amazing. And I learned obviously so much about my voice and my range and how to sing. And it changed my life. And when I was driving from Texas to Tennessee, my mom and I stopped in Nashville, Texas to Ohio, stopped in Nashville. It was just like an aha moment for me that I would eventually be in Nashville. So I graduated in 2018 from Ohio, moved to Nashville, knowing no one, and really just kind of took the city by storm and started writing and meeting some really, really great people here and opened my network up and kind of just started doing what I'm doing now. And 2018 was, just the start of me figuring out who I wanted to be, not just as an artist, but as a woman and figuring out how I was going to live my life. I worked at Pancake Pantry and I was trying to, figure out how I was going to make money and how I was going to sing and do music and everything. And so moving to Nashville was very important to me. And as you know, I've made amazing friendships and relationships here, and I'm so grateful for Nashville, and I'm never leaving. It's literally my town. So I always joke that whenever I make it big, I'll buy houses, to have around the world, but Nashville is home for sure.
So much about that is phenomenal. I love how your guidance counselor or your career
Yeah.
person it's like go to Ohio. I'm like,
Yes,
is she from Ohio?
I
Like
know.
where did that come from?
Yeah. Literally, I think she went to North Texas for voice. So I think in her head, it was just like opera, opera, opera. Like there was never, because I mentioned Belmont to her and she told me that my grades weren't good enough to get into Belmont. And I was like, I can't even just apply to see. I mean, I think I'm pretty cool. Maybe they would like me. But I'm, grateful for being in Ohio and my best friends are from there. So it worked out. And I'm still here in Nashville. And I know many people who go to Belmont and who went to Belmont. So it's a win-win, I'd say for sure.
Totally. And a great reminder that like if you have a gut feeling, just give it a go, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Yes.
Another thing that you said that I am so happy you said this because I had this similar thought, like taking voice lessons and how, oh, if I take lessons, it means I'm not good or, clearly I struggle. I feel like other people probably have that similar sentiment.
For sure. And like when I was in school, I knew of because I was, of course, in theater and choir, and other kids were taking lessons, but and they were good. I just didn't I thought it was for theater kids, and I was like, I'm not necessarily a theater kid. I don't know what I'm doing. And it just growing up, I never really had like a I would say like I had many friends. I was never in a friend group. I was one of those people that was a floater. So I was in all sorts of different groups. So if this group was all doing voice lessons, like I knew a few of them. And then, these people were very smart and I hung out with them all the time. And it just, I never really had like a group where their moms were friends with my, or like my mom, and they were like, well, you should be doing this because they're doing that. So I never
Mhm.
really felt the need to do it. My grandma, she was a singer she was an alto in the Houston chorus, symphony chorus. And she was like, do you want voice lessons for your birthday when I was in high school? And I was like, no, why are you asking me that? Because I just seriously assumed that it meant that I couldn't sing. And obviously, again, not the case. And when I met my voice teacher in college, she truthfully changed my life and made me learn how to use my breath, learn how to find the space where I need to be singing. And then when I moved to Nashville, it's kind of been funny because I've had to unlearn how to sing classically and then relearn how to sing like a country artist in a way. But I still kind of mix them together. It's been really fun to kind of see where my voice is going. It's not where it needs to be yet, meaning I feel like I still have a lot to find in my voice, but I'm getting there. You know what I mean? And I love to learn. And I think this whole music industry changes every day. So learning is fun for me, and figuring out what to do next has been really cool.
Totally. It's like evolution. If you ever stop growing or stop learning, then you're never going to exceed beyond the point that you currently are. And like,
Yeah.
clearly, there's so many more dreams and goals and things to accomplish. So I'm right there with you with wanting to be a forever student. And I think about people like Tiger Woods, who is an all-star golfer or like the LeBron James of the world. And we think of all these like sports people and they have coaches. Like
Right.
LeBron James has a coach, Tiger Woods has a coach, Serena
Yeah.
Williams has a coach. So it's like, okay, if all of those, the stars, these like crazy talented, top of their league, GOAT people have coaches, like it just is because you have someone who's there to guide you in your process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they're cheering you on too. And I think that was kind of for me to know that they were in on my team in my corner was not that I didn't think that that would happen. It just was different in a good way.
Yeah. And you saying that you went to school for opera, that makes okay. I'm now connecting the dots how you have these like really soulful, like beautiful melodies in your songs. And then you get to tie that in with the more commercial sound of like modern country pop, etc. So like who were some of your influences growing up? You and I have bonded over our love of Taylor Swift, but who else did you listen to growing up?
Shania Twain, Tina Turner, Freddie Mercury, the Chicks, formerly known as the Dixie Chicks, Britney Spears. It really just kind of was whatever my parents were listening to, and then whatever I would find. Like a silly anecdote was when Britney Spears would have stickers at Fuddruckers when we were young. We had like a sticker wall in one of my houses, and they were just filled with Britney Spears stickers for 75 cents, 50 cents. That was like a highlight of going to Fuddruckers for burgers. We would be able to get these Britney Spears stickers. And I was so young. Of course, Taylor, which is amazing, and I know you relate to this, is she's closer to our age. So we kind of grew up with her. And she was really the first artist for me that I was able to live her songs with her and grow with the songs with her. And I thought that was really important to me, not just as a singer, but as a fan. She really relates to her fans so much and has always. And I think that's important to me. I just think she's amazing. Growing up with her music and with every album release, and how smart she is with marketing on making us go to Target and put 13s on our hands and buying every single type of album that comes out from the one album, but there are four versions and you should get them all. Like, she's so smart about it and we want it. It's not like, oh, we have to do that. We wanted it. We want it because we want to know every part of her life because she's so incredible. Not just with Taylor, but like with Shania Twain. And I talked about this kind of to you before, like her one album that every single song, come on over, is every single song is fire. That's amazing. Every single one will never go our style. It's so good. It's so perfect. That's, of course, an inspiration for me is to eventually, well, maybe even this album, all songs are hits. And I just think that's a great thing. And I also am such a woman powerful person and I love women in the industry and lifting up other female artists and lifting up female producers, lifting up female songwriters, lifting up females that are not shown ever because it's such a male dominated industry. It's slowly ever changing, but we're still very, very in the early 2000s with it, which is so silly, but we're getting there. We're moving, we're grooving. And I feel like all of the female artists that I really look up to have shown that they aren't giving up. They're continuing to do what they do. Shania is still performing. Like, she is literally crushing it. My sisters, my mom and I, we went to see her in Vegas, and a few years ago, she was singing on key. It was like, oh my gosh, she's fantastic. And that's the thing for me too, is I'm always critical on people singing. And when Taylor was coming up and she was on all the live shows, I was like, oh no, she can't sing. Oh no. And then every time I saw her live, she was on point. Every time from 2009, every single time I was like, oh, so maybe she's just nervous on live stages. Understandable. Understandable. She's the woman. I understand. As we continue to grow, there are so many amazing country artists, female pop artists, all of that, like really on the same page of supporting each other. And everyone wants to work with each other and help them grow because it is still such a male dominated world. But I think that everyone is wanting to work together and help shape the music industry into a more female industry, if you will.
You said this earlier that you've just made such great connections and such great relationships in Nashville. And I wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment. I'm so happy to have met you living here. And also, so many people that I've met. One, the talent is insane. But two, to your point, like you meet people and we're all working towards a common goal. And the fact that you're able to collaborate with these people and build your network. And it's not to say like I love the male artists that I get to write with. I love the male songwriters. Like
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
It's really exciting to picture a world where it's just more equal, where
Right.
women have the opportunities as well. And I love what you said about like Shania Twain's No Skip album. Like her, I think that that is such a feat when you can find, there's like very few albums that I know of that I will listen to it top to bottom 100%, never skip a song. And like, yeah, I love that. I think
Yeah,
that's a great goal.
absolutely.
Well, let me ask you this first. Did you always know that you wanted to be a country pop artist? Did you ever dabble in like, okay, what type of lane? Where does my voice sit? Like, did that ever cross your mind?
It still crosses my mind. I have no idea where I want to go. It was more like people could hear me as a country artist, and it just kind of right now went that way. I really don't know still what I am, but at the moment I do enjoy what I'm writing and what I'm creating, and at this moment it's kind of country stuff, country pop stuff. When I'm writing, it's more storytelling songs, and I feel like that is very much country. So it could be Americana, it could be kind of that realm too, but it's I again ever changing, and I feel like Taylor's a great example of that, that you can change all the time, and that just because you change doesn't necessarily mean you're not this type of artist forever. Like you can dabble into different realms. And very funny, when I was in college, I always joked that I go on tour and I have like a big arena show, I would sing and then I would give everyone a break to go buy merch and sing opera for a few songs and like need to go to the bathroom. I would be like, okay, you can go do that while I sing a few arias and then we'll keep on going. Because I there's just so many different, songs that I love and different avenues of music that I've been shown and that I've been raised with. And when I play cover gigs, I love to sing rock music. And I was raised on classic rock. So when I get to sing those songs, it's so fun. And I'm not writing for rock songs, but I mean, who knows? I could throw them in if I wanted to. I just haven't really had the opportunity to do that. And oh, and Avril Lavigne was a huge influence on me too. I don't necessarily know the genre that I would fit in, but at the moment, these songs are country pop. I definitely feel like it's more country pop than pop country, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's relatable to pick a title and kind of be like, all right, I'm gonna make my stamp here. And
Yeah,
then as people get to know me, I do feel like genres are evolving.
true.
Part of it is I think the attraction of new fans. It's like how if you like this, you will like me. If you like
Right.
that, you will like me. Just as a way to get your name out there. But then I think in time people just learn like that's Allison's voice. Like I think of Sabrina
Yeah,
Carpenter on her Short and Sweet album. Slim Pickens is a country song.
it
You know what
is.
I mean?
100%. It should be on the country radio stations. It really should be.
Totally. And I think that people should lean into what they love. That is genius to have like an opera section because you're like, I know people want to buy merch. I know people want to use the bathroom. I know people want to, you know, stretch their legs for a minute
Yeah.
or whatever, get food.
Don't want to
And
miss out on different things. Yeah.
that's genius. And I think that's also part of like keeping things fresh. Like you talk about Taylor's marketing and originality and how important that is in today's landscape. It's like how do you stand out? If people are like, "Oh my God, like a mashup between like an opera song and then like one of yours, like that could be sick, you know? You never know."
One of my family members had mentioned to me, she was like, why don't you try that? Country opera. Doesn't that sound interesting? And I'm like, I don't necessarily know how to do that, but I know I could do it. I just don't know what that means.
Oh my God, I'm like just brainstorming here for a second, but
Oh,
like
perfect. I know. We'll write something. We'll figure it
we'll write
out.
something. But like I'm picturing like the verses are more standard country melodies and then in your chorus you have a very hooky chorus but then like you have an overlay of like opera-esque background
I'm
vocals.
glad I brought this up with you.
Yeah. That's just like I'm literally like, all right, we're gonna, after this, we'll have to get together and get one of those
We
written.
will.
But talking about tours, okay, I think this is so cool. So you talk about the big tours and the dreams and like everything you're working towards, but you tour now. You go to, I know Florida is a big place for you, as well as some other places. What was that like? Did you just like decide, okay, I'm gonna tour my music?
So basically, I got a really great opportunity, meaning my husband pays for all the bills, and I was kind of in this realm of I can't work at the Pancake Pantry anymore because I'm giving my whole heart to that when my whole heart is music. So how can I try it for a year, see if it works, see if I'm still enjoying being a musician and finding people who connect with what I'm saying and just trying to, do the thing. So for a year, I basically did it all. I didn't get paid for anything other than my gigs, which means I made nothing. But it was still really interesting and fun opportunity for me. So when I was at the Pancake Pantry, it is a huge staple for tourists. Everyone comes in town from Nashville, they go to the Pancake Pantry. The line is out the door, blah, blah, blah. I love the Pancake Pantry. I loved my time there. It's amazing. So if you haven't gone, you should go. Anyway, I started asking my tables where they were from and where they listened to live music in their area. And I just started writing down those venues. And I started cold emailing them saying, "Hi, I'm Allison. I'd love to play. Here's my EPK. Let's set something up." And 9 times out of 10, they just don't respond, but sometimes they did. And I would then find whatever that place was, that date, I would write it down, and then I would just start kind of searching the area to then find other venues to say, "Hey, I'm already playing in your area. Can I play?" And again, people don't answer, but sometimes they do. So I created tours and I, grew different venues to then play out more. And all these gigs work and are cover gigs, but I would throw in my originals. Again, when I was done, I would go up to the tables and say, "Where do you listen to music?" And like, "Where are you going? Where are you from? Are you from here? Why are you here?" And I luckily my gig there, I play in Ocala, Florida. It's in the middle of nowhere, but they always ask me what my availability is. So that's huge. I'm hoping this year I will play monthly. The past couple of years have kind of played every 3 months, every few months, but like my 2025 goal is to play 2 paying gigs, whether that's in Nashville or not. And so far we're got it in January. I've already done 2. So we're on the resolution train. Really had that opportunity to see if it was what I love. And it is. And it's been really great. Then I was like, okay, I need to make money again. So now I nanny and babysit on the side. But it just really opened my eyes to, just taking it as everything I do is me. It's all me. My team is me. For this album, I
Relatable.
I had a booking agent that it was me, but my name is Alan and I go by Al, but I'll like email people saying, "Hi, I'm Alan. This is Allison." And so, spoiler if anyone, gets emails from Alan, but sometimes if you're a male, people answer more than if you're a female. So that's also a thing if you wanted to do that. I think I might change my name to it seems too close. Alan Allison, too close. It's been silly and to kind of see who responds and stuff like that. But kind of honing in on that email too and figuring out how to say it properly and how to make it seem like not seem, but make it so they're going to make money too, not just me, and making sure the venue knows that this is a benefit for you. People will continue to buy more food, buy more drinks if you hire me. Slowly but surely, I'm kind of making it work. And my goal for sure is this year to slowly be doing music again full time, but actually doing it well. And by the end of the year, I'm going to do a ticketed event. That is an Allison Asarch show. It's just in that space where I'm like, I can't, no one's going to come to my show. What do you mean? I don't feel like people are going to come. And so we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I'm speaking it into existence now, so I can start to book it now, so then I can have time to promote it and get people interested to know, like, hey, you should come down in November. We're in January. You know what I mean? Like giving
Yeah.
people the opportunity to figure out how to get to Nashville, or people who live here just to already have it on their calendar to know that they'll be there, stuff like that.
Totally. Okay, these are why I love these conversations. Let's break that
Yeah.
down for just a minute. You had a job, and this is why I like respect people that are able to do music full time, like 100%. And it's such a great place
Amazing.
to be.
Yeah.
But this is why you should never underestimate having a job because you said, I am at a day job. That is not my passion. However, I am able to crowdsource information from the patrons of this restaurant who are all potential visited cities,
Yeah.
and I can get free information without having to pay for a survey or a company to go out and cultivate that information. I track it and then I use that to then reach out to book my own shows. Like, come on. At the end of the day, this is the music business. I think you need to have good songs, you need to have a good voice, you need to have a presence, but like at the end of the day, you need to be a smart salesperson and a smart business person, and you were able to execute on all of that. Like, kudos to you. That's
Thanks.
genius.
Thank you. And I went live on TikTok recently, and someone who I guess was scrolling was like, "You were my waitress at Pancake Pantry." And I was like, "Oh my God, how did you find me on TikTok?" But amazing. Thanks for tuning in.
Oh my gosh. And such a great reminder of like, you never know who you've left an impression with. And then people will just kind of like come across you later and they're like, oh, I do that sometimes with people where I'm like, I'm so glad they're still doing this. There was this guy in my college who wanted to be a wrestler, like
Like
WWE, like,
WWE.
yeah,
Oh
yeah. And I remember he did like amateur stuff like shortly
yeah.
after college. Meanwhile, I'd like never heard him say anything like that in college. So I'm like, he kept that on the down low until he went off and did it. And I still see stuff on Instagram of him going out doing those shows. I'm like, I'm so proud of him. But
That's awesome. No, for sure. Absolutely. I feel like too, because when I was releasing or when I made my Kickstarter for the album, it's terrifying because you're asking people for money. And so I'm friends with some of my teachers from school, and I was, messaging them on Facebook, being like, hey, Mrs. So and so, I hope you're doing well. I'm still doing the music thing, and and they're the sweetest because who doesn't love teachers? And the ones that I reached out to did give, and that was so cool. And I wasn't, I was like, I tell everyone, I'm like, you don't need to give, you can just share. That helps so much. And they were easily like, oh my gosh, no, this is amazing. So, yeah, just people are very supportive from way back when who know like this is my dream, always has been my dream. And yeah, here we are.
And what a perfect segue getting into one of the most, in addition to ticketed shows later this year, but one of the most exciting things for this year is you are gearing up for your sophomore album. Thank you so much for mentioning the crowdfunding Kickstarter campaign that you had. What a genius idea. Like, how did that come to you?
I knew that the album was going to be expensive. So, my recent album and other singles, the couple who really were my mentors and grew me as an artist were also my producers, and I recorded with them, and they moved to New Mexico. Not that I didn't want to work with them anymore, but I just felt like I have grown as an artist, and I still write with Andy, who's amazing. But they like a few of our songs are on this album, which are so good. And she's one of my favorite writers of all time. I think we should do a three-way, right? We'll talk about it later. But anyway,
Perfect.
they're so amazing and have met so many amazing people through my babysitting and nannying one of the families I watch. They are a musician family. The mom is an artist and the dad is a drummer and has his own studio in the backyard and is a producer, and they're amazing people. I just kind of was throwing the idea out there being like, would you ever want to work with me as an artist? And he was like, oh my gosh, absolutely. Let's talk about it. And so I knew about payment and I knew it was going to be a lot. And I just kind of was throwing the idea around being like, maybe a Kickstarter would be the best thing for me because I am broke as hell. And how do I think I could do this? And luckily, I hit the goal because my husband very much helped me with hitting the goal. But I had a lot of people who did participate and help me raise the money. But in my opinion, because I'm still an independent artist, I feel like I only want to put my best foot forward. And if that means I have to spend a lot of money to create the art that I want to create, I'm going to do it. So no matter what, even though I don't have a management or anything, I'm going to keep doing it the way I want to do it until I get signed by somebody who has the authority to tell me, well, no, and it works, you know? So why stop doing what I love for that reason? Again, am I extremely broke? Yes. But it is worth it. It's great. And the music is so great. And the creating of this album, there was a band and we were in the studio together, and seeing the songs come to life was the coolest thing I've ever seen. They would read the chart, know it, and then they would riff off of the songs and then be like, oh, I think this should be in there and this should be in there. And it was just, why I love music and why people who are musicians are fantastic. And I just was really excited that they were excited, and all of the people who gave to my Kickstarter have been excited. I keep getting emails because, like all of the timelines, my timeline has been insane. I wanted to release this song, Better with Time, in August because that was my birthday. And then I, slowly was like told kind of best to wait a little bit, maybe create content, do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. That way, when it comes out, you're not freaking out about, oh, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. It's just kind of there. You just are like, okay, I'm going to post this today. Okay, great, let's post that. And it kind of has been the coolest thing ever that I've been able to look at all these videos of content that I have, and I'm like, is that the one I want to post today? No, let's do that one. And it's been kind of cool, and gained a team that I'm paying for, but I'm really proud of the team that I'm working with. And they're so helpful with just ideas that I would have never thought of for not just my single releases, but for the album. And I think that 2025 is going to be a great stepping stone year for me as an artist. And I'm hoping by 2026, I'll start doing more just Allison Asarch shows instead of cover gigs. That's it. Yeah. So the Kickstarter was really great, and I'm very happy that I did it because it did gain me some fans too from Kickstarter. And whenever I would go live to kind of promote it, I've got a few people who they message me all the time, and it's just really cool to find those fans, and it's been fun.
Totally. And the slow build, I think, is how you have those lifelong fans, because these are people that are getting to participate in the whole process. They got to see it from the inception through the build up, through the recording, through the launch, and people are like, I remember when I was around for blah 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 blah," and it
Yeah.
gets buy-in. So that's so cool. Speaking of this album and Better with Time specifically being the first single off the project, let me first ask, are there any like specific themes that you were hoping to touch on in this sophomore album? Like, how did you know, okay, I've reached a point in time where I have these many songs and they fit together and this is a project?
So as a Swiftie, have always wanted to kind of like give my love to Taylor in some type of way, type of Easter egg way. So all my albums, until I'm told otherwise, are 13 songs. And so I had more than 13 songs that I had written, but it was more or less finding the 13 that I thought were my best work that I'd written in the past couple of years. And like I said, I grow all the time when I write, and I feel like the difference between this album and my last album are my last album is more pop country, and this album I think is more country pop. I've started writing more songwriting, storytelling songs. And I feel like I've really, really gravitated towards telling people stories, creating stories of people to help people relate to them. And I felt like this album cohesively really does that and tells different people's stories. And I'm super close with my grandparents and they're still around. So I want to make sure that anything that I've written about them gets out now so they can hear it. And like, I don't even want to talk about that, but just, stuff like that really means a lot to me. My family means a lot to me, telling these stories of grief and of, dementia with a different song that we've written. Like, it's just, there's stories that need to be told and stories that I think people 100% relate to. And obviously, with Better With Time, we are in this world where people just feel like when you turn 30, you're a nobody and you need to become a homebody. You need to become a mom. You need to be willing to be just there for your kids. You can't have a life too. And that some people do that, and that's great. That's not what I'm saying at all. I think that it's just a crazy world that people feel like they have that say over every single person, that like, no, this is what society is saying, so this is how it should be. And I obviously disagree and love singing, and I love my work that I'm doing. I love the songs that we're writing, and I love watching all these female artists who have either been married and now are divorced, or who have kids and are trying to figure out how to go on tour with children and nannies, and who are in this space where they have that opportunity to write about how they live now than what they did when they were drunk in their 20s and at bars and stuff. And not saying that you can't write that when you're in your 30s, but I think what I enjoy with writing is how I'm growing as a human, and including my husband in my music, and including my friendships that are so important to me, and just how I grow as a woman. And as I grow in this life, I know I'm not alone, and I want to help people know that it's okay to be 30. There is nothing wrong with it. It's fine. I'm so happy with these songs and just hoping that this music really resonates with people and that I can continue to write music that will continue to resonate with people. I think that's obviously a goal any songwriter has. That's why I think these 13 are great. And my next album, I think it's a nice transition, and I think it's a growth. And I think that's what you want to see in artists. I think you want to see them grow. I don't think you want them to just sit in a box and like that's all they do. I'm grateful for where I've been, where I'm going, all of that.
Yeah, and then you become like a one-trick pony. Like, oh, all they can do is do this one thing and like they can do it really well. But I don't do that all the time anymore either. Like, I'm not going out to bars 24/7.
Right.
I want stuff that relates to me. So, Better with Time. I love this song. We got to write this together with Casey McMillan. How did you choose Better with Time to be the first single for this era?
When we wrote it, I it hit every box that I wanted it to hit. And like I said, I was trying to release it when I turned 30 because, we had the line and I'm 30 just like that. I feel like it just really brought up the idea of not being afraid of who I am as an artist and kind of just throwing it out there to the world to be like, this is me, this is what I'm going to say. And if you aren't into that, then you're not into my music, kind of. And I feel like that was a big reason why I was like, I love this song. I love this song. I love everything we wrote about. I love it. I love it. I love it. And it just, it never was an option. It was always like, nope, Better with Time is going to be the first song off the album because it needs to be talked about. It's never ending, this whole thing about aging. And it's just very important to me. And I think it was important to you and Casey when we were writing it. And I wanted it to be able to be one of the songs before the album came out that people can associate with the album, if that makes sense.
And I love what you said about like, this is my music. So if you don't like this, you don't like my music. And I think that like people that are strong enough to take a stand, like people will resonate with that when they find something that speaks to them. They resonate with the fact that like you are being true to who you are. And like, I want to support someone like that.
Yeah, thanks. But yeah.
Another thing you quickly mentioned, but I thought is the coolest thing about this next project, and especially better with time, is when you were recording this, you were with a full band and you guys did it all together. Like, what was that process like?
The coolest thing ever. I felt very much I had imposter syndrome the entire time and like didn't know if I could really like speak on anything when they were doing stuff, but it was so amazing because they were all super talented, are super talented, and they work with amazing artists on the road. So they work with really cool people and I'm like, I don't deserve y'all in the studio with me, but you're amazing. Thank you so much for being here. And kind of, just they'd never heard the songs before. So throwing that music to them to then create it in a way that the songs are what they are now is amazing. And it was just a really, really, really cool experience that I'd never had. And I just really enjoyed being able to see these instruments make the songs what they are. And it was the coolest thing ever. It really was. And I can't wait for the next album, but it just was one of the funnest experiences that I've had while creating music. And another reason why when those things happen, you're just like, yeah, no, this is what I want to do. This is why I'm here. This is the whole thing. And it's one of like my top things that I've done so far for sure.
And it's such a reminder that like when people are really good at their craft, it's like magic. Like when you see someone, because when we wrote it, we literally wrote it on an acoustic guitar in a little room, the three of us sitting there with a
Yeah.
laptop, and we're just like kind of like, from what I remember about that writing session, I think it took us a little bit to get like off the ground
Yeah.
to get our ideas organized enough, if I'm remembering correctly.
Well, we had so many ideas because it's such a this the song idea in general. There's so many things that you can say. So it took us, and I've got a video that I'm gonna share eventually, like maybe tomorrow, that talks about this. But it took us a while because there are so many things that, first of all, get better with time. But how do we say this in a way that resonates with people, not just saying like, "Oh yeah, I'm 30," just like that. Like that doesn't. What do you mean? How can you visually tell it in a song, and how can we figure that out? And I think we really crushed it. And yeah, it took us a minute. It took us a long time in our first write, and then that second write, it was very easy for us to polish it, and we finished it.
Yeah. And like in part of that conversation too, it's like people have value in all of these other things in life that are not new. And,
Right.
for example, things like childhood homes, hand-me-down guitars, vintage boots, classic cars, like that's a kind of the opening line of the chorus. And it's just like, yeah, like people love classic cars. People love jeans that fit really well. And there's a nostalgia with their childhood home. So it's like, okay, if there's all this value in these not new other pieces of life, that applies to people as well.
Right. 100%.
And I'm just so proud to be a part of a project like this because literally this song, I'm also 31, so I'm right there in that like early 30s age bucket. And when I was 29, I was so sad to turn 29. I don't know if you felt this way, but I'm like, I think I was more sad to turn 29 than I was to turn 30. Because at
Oh my
29, I'm like, oh my God, it's the last year of my 20s. Like I wasted it. Like,
God. No, I understand for sure. 29. Yeah. What's worse than, oh no, 25, 29, whatever that line is. But didn't Schmidt turn 29 in New Girl and it was a big deal for him? Yeah, 29. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Big thing. But
totally
anyway.
relatable. And so I know you've shared like the recording process was super cool and you've talked about the great relationships that you've built in town to work with and write with. What's your favorite part of the creative process? Is it the writing? Is it the recording? Is it the performing? Like what do you love most?
It's kind of tricky because I feel like all of it I love. for sure creating the music and like having that knowledge of the songs for so long before they actually come to fruition is crazy because we've had this song written for a while and I can say, I can't wait for you to hear this song. I can't wait for you to hear this music for so long because I'm mostly saying it because I'm so proud of it and I know it's good. I mean, obviously we're biased, but it's great music
Not
and
biased at all. Not biased.
okay.
I think this is a very like unbiased opinion.
Okay, cool. But I just know that creating is a talent that we have and being able to like call my grandparents on the drive home from a ride being like, we just wrote this song, it's really good and it's great, and they're like, oh cool, and they don't hear about it for 2 years, and just being able to create music over time is important. And also, like I've said, like I'm still writing right now, I'm never just like, okay, writing for the project, that's it. It's more like I like to write in general. So if it's not even a song for me, I just like being part of the process, gifting, I guess, a song to another artist or even pitching a song to another artist. It's a whole thing. So creatively, I enjoyed that. This production realm for this album rather than the other album, I feel like I've worked with two different producers and kind of being able to grow because when I worked on my first album, I was a little baby. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just basically kind of told how it works and this is what this means and I'm going to ask you to do this and what happened if you do this on a song and kind of just open my eyes to what production really meant. And then with this album it was still that but a further down the road different take because there were people in the room the whole time we did it. And that's like how this producer liked to work was this week we did the whole album with the band and then the next week we did all the vocals and then the next week we did all the background vocals. So every producer is different. And like the first producer, I could go in whenever I wanted. If I felt like I didn't like what I did that day, I could go back and sing it again. And like with this producer, it was like, these are our days. You know what I mean? Like we have to get it done in these days. And it wasn't a rushed type thing. I just feel like, oh, okay, no, I got to be perfect on these. Got it. But I would then, sit outside after I would of the booth and we would listen and I'd be like, hate that one. Let's do that one. Like I would, do different takes of the song and be like, oh no, that I don't like what I hear there. And he'd be like, well, this is why I like it. And so then I was like, oh, okay. And then we would
Yeah.
go back and forth. But knowing that the different producers that I work with have, that mindset of like what I think would be more liked in an artist. So like with my first producer, what he told me was, I was just singing the songs and he was like, you got to know that when people hear your music, they want to be able to hear you sing it in a way that they can visually see things. So if you're singing live, sure, they can see you singing. They can see you doing it. But when you're in a studio, they cannot see you. The first thing that they hear from you is your song. And if you can move them with the way you say things, that's how it should work. And so I was like, oh, what? Okay. So, growing from learning that in 2020 or 2019 even to now being in 2025 and figuring out all the production things. And I'm still learning. I think that whenever I record next, I want to have a voice teacher in there with me when I'm recording to make sure that I'm singing it in a way that will be there forever, but in a good way. Not that I don't think my vocals are good on this one. I just think they could have been better because that's who I am. I think that I can always be better. And then I guess with performing, I just love audiences. I love getting the gratification of them understanding my lyrics. And like for now, most of my gigs are cover gigs and seeing people like hear me and then just sit forever. And then when I'm done, they're done. They kind of stay. And when I played in Denver, I actually played festival. It was amazing. And I know nobody knew who I was. Nobody had ever heard of me. And like they were there, they were sitting, they were listening, they liked me and they liked my music. And of course, that's, what I have always wanted is for them to relate and kind of feel it. And like a very funny moment was one of my songs, Want Me Like You Want To, is about a relationship. And one time when I was like talking to the audience, I was like, have you ever been in a relationship? And a guy just like raised his hand. Like I didn't even finish what I was saying. And I was like, you don't even know where I'm going, but I love that you're listening. Amazing. And just, having those relationships. And then I went to the merch booth and like I was signing all my shirts. I was like going up and down the line saying, that's me, that's my face. If you get it, I'll sign it for you. And I sold so much merch by doing that. And just being there with the fans and knowing that people are really enjoying what I'm singing and just are enjoying what they're seeing and how, because I never want to be boring on stage. I want to make sure that people are having a good time. I feel like that's just me in general. At our wedding, that was my whole thing, was I want to make sure everyone's having a good time. I know it's my day, but like I want to make sure they're having a good time. So I feel like that resonates just with any show that I do. I want to make sure when people request songs, I will try my hardest to play it for them because they're asking me to play that. And if I can't, if there's something else I can do to try to play their song. And I think people really enjoy that. I can really try to sing whatever they ask. And just watching people smile is always a big thing for me. So I feel like performing is also huge. So yeah, I love it all.
I can definitely speak as someone who has seen Allison perform a few times now. You do have such a light when you're on stage, and you just have such a wonderful nature where people they are like moths to the flame. They're just like when you get up and you sing and you smile and you're like, "Hey guys, I'm singing over here if you want to join." And like you just welcome people into your world, and I feel like that's especially in a society where people feel nothing but like disconnected from like everyone else around them and the world around them, to
Yeah.
have someone welcoming them into their space. I feel like it's just such a home for people.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're
Thanks.
welcome. And like I hope for you that more fairs or festivals come your way, because I feel like that's such a great way to meet people that you wouldn't have crossed paths with otherwise.
100%. 100%. Thanks. Yeah. I agree.
So you gave a really good piece of advice when you said that one of your first producers said, um, like when people are listening to you, they need to connect emotionally to you. What do you think is the best piece of advice you've ever gotten?
Ever gotten?
Yeah, you
Um,
can tailor it, whether that's more as an artist or just in life. What comes to mind?
there are definitely a few things that come to mind as of like best advice. I feel like, if you're not having fun, then you should stop doing it. I think that's always been a big thing. No one's going to believe you more than yourself. No one's going to care more about your music than you do. So if you stop believing in yourself, then it's just, you're going to stall out. It wasn't necessarily advice, but it was more like if you can find 1,000 fans, true fans, to listen to your music and buy your stuff, you're living a six-figure life and you can do music forever. And I feel like that's resonated with me for a few years now, is trying to keep that mindset of, okay, 1,000 people, that's all I want, 1,000 people. And then I can do this forever. So of course I want more than that. But if I can find 1,000 people that love what I'm putting out there and will come to my shows and all and buy my merch, then I'm gonna deal with that. You know what I mean?
So you've talked about people around town that you've loved collaborating with, songwriters or producers. Are there any artists or like specific acts or musicians that are on your bucket list that you're like, one day I would love to collaborate with this person?
If like big, or does it matter how big? Does it matter how
Girl,
small?
your bucket list, whatever it could be. You could, how about this? If there's a small one and a big one, let's hear both.
Okay, cool. I think at this moment, I would love to write with Ashley McBride. I think she's just so cool, and I feel like we have a very similar vibe on how she is much older than I am and is amazing and is just now, not just now, but like hitting it big. And I think that's my mantra. So, I think we would vibe and write a killer song. And also like maybe open for her, who knows? But that would be cool. And then Delaney Ann is like the coolest girlie ever. I love her and met her at your writers round. And I think she's so fun and I love her music. So I think I would want to write with Delaney at some
Yeah.
point.
Hey, that's a little bit of a sneak peek for another episode that might be
Oh,
coming
hell
down the
yeah.
line. Yeah. And what Allison was talking to is I had a birthday round last year where I got to invite all of the amazing artists that I love to collaborate with and I'm so lucky to have as friends and people that I get to work with here in town. And I had a birthday round and I got to invite them all. And it was my favorite thing in the world is connecting people. And so when I'm like, okay, I know all of you individually, let's bring you all to a melting pot. And that makes my heart so happy.
It was such a fun round, and I met your friends from your hometown, and like they're amazing. And it was just that round was really cool because you can say what you want to say, but you're one of the best writers I've ever written with. So, like meeting other people that are in your circle is kind of the coolest thing. So, I'm very grateful that we're friends and that I was able to play and meet all the people that you're writing with because you are so good and so talented. And it's just so cool to be in your circle.
That truly, truly means the world. Thank you so much. And like I just have a blast. And like to your point, if you don't love it, like don't do it. That really means a lot. Thank you so much. I'm lucky to have crossed paths with such talented people myself. And like when you get talent and what do they say? Iron sharpens iron. So I love that.
For sure, for sure.
Well, Allison, thank you so much for coming on the So Rude podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And I obviously love talking to you on and off camera. So I'm glad we were able to do this. And I'm sure we'll do this again soon with our next song coming out.
I cannot wait. So every time I have a guest on the show, I always end with the same final question, which is, what is one thing you would tell your younger self?
Keep going. You are going to have trial after trial after trial telling you, no, 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 it's never going to happen. It's not worth it. Or you're just going to keep getting told no, but you just got to keep going. And even if you have no money, you got to keep going. And yeah, just keep on keeping on, really. You got it. It's a, it's not going to happen overnight. You got it. Just keep going.
So powerful. Where can people find you online if they are interested in following along with your music and your upcoming releases?
Amazing. You can follow me at Allison Asarch Official on Twitter. It's just Allison Asarch, AllisonAsarch.com. AllisonAsarch.com. You can get merch there too.
Perfect. All of those links are going to be down below in the episode description. And if you're not already following this podcast, you are new to the show, welcome. You can follow along with the So Rude podcast on Instagram and TikTok at sorude.podcast. We have a website, sorudemedia.com. It lists all of our guests. And also, we are on YouTube. So, all of our video episodes are up there to be viewed if you enjoy seeing all the facial expressions along the way. I am so thankful to have such amazing friends and guests that I get to bring on this show. So, if you could help support this show by following and subscribing along, it just shows growth and it allows me to continue to bring more and more guests on the show to share their wonderful stories and journeys with you. If you are a fan of music, if you are into music yourself, or you just enjoy listening to the fun conversations that we have. We release new episodes every Tuesday, so make sure you stay tuned. And as always, have a fantastic rest of your day, and we'll talk again. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date with every episode. See you next time.